All right, just to let you know, I was early, but different kinds of technical issues. Okay, but anyway, here we are. We're all together. We're all alive by the grace of Nrisimhadev, one of our 3 days of full fasting through until sunset, at least until sunset yesterday. So here we are. We remembered Nrisimhadev, we remembered Prahlad Maharaj, and of course we remembered Srila Gurudev and Srila Guru Maharaj, because that was the day that Srila Gurudev came to Guru Maharaj in their eternal Leela. So today here, in fact, all of us, except for Dana, the rest of us, we are here in the previous time day or the future time day, whatever it may be, where the day after Nrisimha Chaturdashi. Oh, yes, Leela Moipu, I think you're just next door here, but yes, you're in Brazil, and so you're late in the evening of Nrisimha Chaturdashi. All right, dear devotees, and Dana sending her flowers and heart and all good things, and her pranam to the devotees. All right. Interestingly, I'm connected to a phone that I was looking for, which is why I was late. I don't know where it is, but it's interesting that it's somewhere within range, because that's where I've connected to. And I was searching everywhere looking for the phone. I wonder where it is. Okay, as long as it's got electricity in, we'll be okay. Dear devotees, let us begin. Those of you here on Zoom, on Facebook, and in the recorded version, our appreciation and obeisances to you all. We'll begin with our mini Vandana. Vande ham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijan Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Anmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvije Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Dear devotees, what news from you? I'll let you think of your news, because everyone, oh, I'm surprised. I've been asked to say something. If you're here on Zoom, always have a little something in your pocket. And our little something is we're very happy to have with us 4 devotees from Latvia who came, as well as Jamuna Priya, who came just a little before them, and as well as Muktinath Prabhu, who came a little before them. So we had a gathering of devotees, as well as the local devotees. And Rituraj, he broke his finger playing football, so he wasn't able to play the mridanga for a long time, and he's feeling very sad. Yesterday, for the first time in quite some time, he was able to play softly the mridanga, and then he passed it over to us. He's a mridanga addict. Even though it caused him pain, he still couldn't resist playing something for Nrisimhadev. And from Latvia, we have Tanushree Devirasi, who leads the Veda Life studio there. And in the studio, they do many things, but it's all directed towards bringing people to Mahaprabhu's conception, means to Gurudev, Guru Maharaj, our family. And every time we go to Riga, at least once, then we are doing public programs in that studio. And the last public program there was, completely full house. Usually it is well attended. And this time it was standing room only. So she does a very good job to attract people, and three of those persons are here. One we met in India, and so when there's return, when there's again coming back to meet these Hare Krishnas, then we're always very happy. We think that there must be something good in the line of Sukriti there behind. And this is our news, and we were kept in touch around the world, including from South Africa, from Seva Rupa Devirasi, sending us mouth-watering pictures of the offerings to the deities. I hope those that they'd been offered, because you sent those before we broke our fast. And then we are thinking, yes, but I'm fasting. It's so nice that the Lord is taking these dishes. And the savor of the devotees there. And also nearby here in Mauritius, really it's amazing how many people go there. It is a Hindu country, and in that Hindu country, then tradition, we're very happy to see that people follow tradition. And this is an opportunity to introduce Govinda, who is the source of all the avatars and incarnations. And this is what is still, as they say, blowing our minds when we read Sri Brahma Sanghita, which is what the devotees here are reading in the evening at the moment, with those purports, which are by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And this was very clear. This is why we have that Brahma Sanghita. It is also published elsewhere. But there the credit is given that it's by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But the commentaries are by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And this is fully confirmed by Srila Gurudev. So in there, we hear of the supreme grandness of the creation, the supreme grandness of so many aspects of the Lord's creation, of which, by the way, we are a tiny spark, just in case we hadn't noticed when looking at the sky at night. And then about all of this creation and all the great avatars and Nrsimhadev, everybody's got this great reverence and hopefully feel that this lion is affectionate with them. But be careful with lions, please. We do have some experience. Anyway, this half man, half lion, everyone's very full of struck with what he can do and his grandness, everything. But all of this comes from some young teenage cowherd boy who's tending the cows in Vrindavan. So in Mauritius, they're getting hundreds of people attending, and that's in one temple. And don't forget, there are 4 temples. 4 temples and 2 ashrams when you add the ISKCON temples. 2 ISKCON temples, 2 our temples, temples, and 2 ashrams, 1 our ashram, their ashram, on an island 50 kilometers tall and 50 kilometers wide. So then you can understand it really is, a very traditional Hindu related culture. But these temples are full. And yesterday was an example of that again. And the Kirtan and Harikatha and Anukalpa, Hari Anukalpa, Hari Prasadam at the end of the day. And it's an opportunity for the traditional Hindu people to come to Nrsimhadev, hear about him, but always to come to the Govinda, the Krishna conception of the Lord. And this is where the whole direction of Srimad Bhagavatam takes us. And this is where we've got the Leela of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaj, his son, and then Nrsimhadev coming to protect his son, who has no other protection, who anybody would go to for protection. The father is his greatest enemy to this young boy. But there he is, indifferent. He didn't mind. Okay, my dad's a bit foolish. That's why he's doing these things. But Krishna, look after me. So here we are. And even he kept his faith to his father, because all the way through, he just wants good for his father, even after Nrsimhadev has ripped him apart. So here we are, we're in the world where really we want good for everybody, and that good is our connection, or the connection of anybody, to have with Srila Gurudev, Srila Guru Maharaj, and the parampara, which is presenting Mahaprabhu. And what's Mahaprabhu presenting? The Srimad Bhagavatam essence. So I know you've all been hearing and reading and singing and maybe eating something too, all in remembrance of Nrsimhadev. And you've been not eating something too, some fasting too. So anyway, this is just a tiny bit of news from here. And maybe we can ask Seva Rupa Devidasi first of all today, because she sent some beautiful pictures of the offerings, and Mathura Basini Devidasi and Subhasini. Subhasini, is she a relative? Please remind me, is she a relative of one of the devotees?
Yes, Dandavats, Maharaj, Dandavats, dear devotee.
We can't, oh, I can't hear you, maybe no volume.
How about now?
Yes, good.
Yes.
And you're probably speaking quietly because there are those sleeping around, I know.
Dandavat pranams. Yes, Maharaj. So Suvasini Didi is a disciple of Acharya Maharaj, and she is Mathura Vasini Didi's daughter-in-law.
Ah, okay.
Yes. And so she was there doing the garlands, and Mathura Vasini and Kanchana, her daughter, were the cooks. And Premasindu Prabhu also was there, and he brought some guests. So we had quite not a full house, but yes, it was fuller than usual. And also Mukunda was there also playing the mridanga. That's Mathura Vasini's youngest. Oh, I don't know if he's the youngest son, but Mathura Vasini's son. And yes, there were a lot of preparations. Yes, you saw like 2 trays. Well, I'm going to try and share it on Zoom as well. Yes, it was also a fast, and somehow it I think mentally you try and prepare yourself, and during the day it's oh, you got it till 9 o'clock, you managed, and then lunchtime, and then you're still okay, and somehow I don't know how it happens and how you get through. And even my aunt in um, Pretoria was also fasting, and she's around in her 70s or so. And she was also texting me, okay, I managed to pull through. And but by the grace of yes, Guru and Guranga, that yes, it's just like step by step, but before you know it, it's yeah, the fast is over, but and then the feasting was there, but it was a beautiful program, vibrant kirtans, and we also had a talk, and yes, and then we had Aarti, and we also honored Prashadam and cleaning up. Well, yes, it was getting late into the night, and I think my drive back was about an hour. So the devotees very sweetly was like, pushed me out the door, go, go, go. But a lovely, absolutely lovely celebration, lovely day, lovely full moon. So yes, always nice to be around the devotees.
This sounds like Sri Chaitanya Sarasat Mat. So Sri Chaitanya Sarasat Mat in Johannesburg. Hare Krishna, beautiful, the embassy of Chaitanya Sarasat Mat, which is Chaitanya Sarasat Mat. Beautiful. All right. And maybe we should ask to Leela Moy Prabhu, because he's there at also one of the centers, means the Srila Bhakti, BG and Bhakti Sundar Govinda. Yoga Institute. Is that right?
Srila Govinda Maharaj
Ah,
Bhakti Yoga Institute.
I was
Yes,
trying to get it down to three letters. I know it's three. Srila Govinda Maharaj, SGM, Bhakti Yoga Institute. Okay, three letters and three letters.
yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, actually, we couldn't be in person here today. Actually, today was unusual day for me because I worked until 9 p.m.
Ah, we're
I
thinking
worked a
of
lot,
Nrisimha.
but yes, yes, always listening to your lectures. I was listening to the Bhagavatam seven canto,
Yes.
and early in the morning we read something about Nrisimhadev, and we heard some kirtans also, and in our daily gathering here, yeah, basically was that. Unfortunately, we couldn't be in person. Sad, but yeah.
Don't worry. Most people in the world do work. And by the way, that includes Seva Rupa. So they were also working, but not all work until 9 o'clock at night, we have to say. Okay. Anyway, not anyway, very good. Everyone's been remembering Nrsimhadev, put it that way. And I mean, I have to just say that quite a bit of our chatting and things, those who may have tuned in, was about Srila Gurudev, because Srila Gurudev came to Guru Maharaj on that day. And actually in Navadip, then for us, there's quite a bit of, maybe you could say, prominence even, of like Gurudev and Guru Maharaj. And almost every year Gurudev would kind of say about, oh, when he came and how my life was so happy before I came to Krishna consciousness. And then those brahmacharis in the temple, I said yes to them that I'll join, and then they gave me such a hard time. This was after he'd joined, and I think everybody here knows it. Very soon afterwards, within even a week or two, Srila Guru Maharaj, seeing his nature, was saying, but this boy is very bright, very faithful. If he can be a good student, then I'll see that he can be my successor in future. So Srila Guru Maharaj, he would be also asking to others, to Krishnadas Babaji and others, look at this boy, what do you think about him? And they're all seeing him, observing his activities, etc. And all saying to Guru Maharaj, yes, he can be. So then when the other brahmacharis, including those who had brought him to the temple, come, we're out preaching. What are we doing? People reaching. We're coming to draw people to hear about Mahaprabhu and join the temple. And even those brahmacharis, when they heard of Guru Maharaj, like, oh, he wants to groom him as his successor, not us, then they gave him a hard time, which is very difficult. And I hope that there's not that kind of mood anywhere in the Western world, but unfortunately we've seen like this in India, in not only our temple, but different temples, that people sort of join as a career rather than as a surrender. So hoping for some promotion, a bigger
It's
day.
everywhere, Maharaj. It's not just India. It's in West also.
Okay. Okay, Ramananda Prabhu.
Dandas, Maharaj.
We won't
Yeah,
chew on it too much.
yeah, no problem. Yeah, I heard Gurudev said, actually, this sadhu ruined my life. Gurudev was giving the class about when he joined. Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. Dandas.
Oh, okay, Ramananda Prabhu. Ramananda Prabhu in San Jose, late at night. Just no, it's not late at night. This is the right time for San Jose. These back to people
It's
ask me, why do
7:20.
we do these back to basics at like 3 o'clock in the morning when we're in London like this? And or 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Anyway, they say, why do you do this? Such ridiculous hours. I blame it on California, Ramananda Prabhu, because that's how these classes evolved. And it does mean that for some sections like California, it's a sensible time. Whereas we know that many of the times that we're online, etc., it's not the right time for California. All the good people will be fast asleep by then, all the Hare Krishnas, because it ends up in the middle of the night. Only a few surrendered souls in the world, like Leela Moy Prabhu in our Brazilian section, and Florida section too, etc., are able to be up so late at night and listen. Hare Krishna. Anyhow, Srila Gurudev came to the mat, and it is a day when Gurudev, I mean, year by year, always he'd have a little thought about when he came to the temple. And so we hear his pastimes of coming to the temple, walking from Nadangat, a place which we know by the grace of Gurudev and the devotees we know very well. We've been to so many festivals there. We've helped to arrange in different ways so many festivals there. Been a little part of the machine which gets festivals running and going, and visited the home, the place where Gurudev stayed when he was there. Maybe not his home, but the compound. It was in that time, rich person's home. And when he stayed, okay, so I think most of you know the history. When Gurudev was a teenager, then he came from his school, which he didn't like very much because the teachers were very mean. Anyway, he came from his school after leaving school. Then you need, obviously you need a job in the material world. And he became a doctor's assistant in a place called Nadangat, which is, I don't know, 1/3 of the way, we can say, 1/3 of the way between Navadip Chaitanya Saraswat Mat and Bamunpara, which is where Srila Gurudev was born. Bamunpara, yes, originally called Brahmanpur, the town of Brahmins, but called Bamunpara. That's the name of the village now. So 1/3 of the way between here, yes, here in Navadip and there is Nadangat. And he was the assistant to a doctor. And so Gurudev told that in those days, if you were an assistant to a doctor, then bit by bit, you'll learn everything about the medical trade, and then you'll become a doctor. It wasn't going to, having to go to the university and college. At that level, it was the level of being an assistant and learning everything, and then coming to be a doctor oneself. And as one of our dear devotees, at the age of 21, perhaps, was $250,000, $250,000 in debt by going to university to study medicine. Amazing business. Education is an amazing business. And I suggested, well, why don't you declare bankruptcy and start all over again? I mean, businessmen do it. It's going to say all the time, hopefully not all the time, but we know businessmen do like this. But she said, no, that debt in the USA is never wiped out. You have to repay that, which I thought was quite alarming in one sense. But anyway, Gurudev didn't get into debt by $250,000 to learn medicine in some university of dubious association, as most universities seem to be. And who were we hearing? Oh, yes, I was listening to Gurudev. We were hearing Gurudev, believe it or not, here in the temple room. And Gurudev saying how he liked Srila Swami Maharaj's expression that the university is the slaughterhouse of the soul. The universities are the slaughterhouse of the soul, putting all this mundane version of everything into the people's minds. So anyway, Gurudev was there in Nadangat as an assistant to a doctor, and Gurudev had a happy life. It's totally clear. Even without words, if you don't know English or don't know Bengali and Gurudev's describing it, you can see him drifting into a happy life as a youth in Nadangat where he would play football with the local people. He said everybody was my friend. He didn't have any animosity or anything. They all loved him, and he's trying to and doing good for others in that sense. And then from there, then the devotees, they convinced him, or rather they said to him, they described so many things. They were singing nice kirtan and wanted that Gurudev would play the mridanga simply because he knew nicely how to play it, because his father was a kirtaniya. So he knew nicely how to play the mridanga even at the age of 17. And so he joined in the kirtans, he heard what they were saying, and then the devotees and they asked him, so will you join the temple? And Gurudev said, I was accustomed to always saying yes. If anybody asks anything, I'll say yes. So I said yes. then it came in his mind, ding, oh, what did I say yes to? That I'm going to join the temple. So Gurudev is always truthful, so he's not going to go back on saying yes. But he then modified it. Yes, yes, if we go today, because he's thinking, well, they're all engaged here in these preaching programs in Narangat. And so I'll say, yes, if we can go today. So added this little extra on the end and thinking, oh, they won't go today because they've got the meeting going on and they're going to be here and traveling for the next few days. Then the brahmachari said, okay, so we'll make arrangement tonight. We'll leave tonight and we'll go to the temple. So that's how Gurudev ended up, by going in the night and crossing. It wasn't actually the Ganges, even though widely I hear it told, oh, Gurudev swam across the Ganges. It wasn't actually the Ganges. It's a river. It's a river that flows into the Ganges, but it's not yet the Ganges. The water that flows into the Ganga becomes the Ganges water. But as Guru Maharaj pointed out, whatever flows out is no longer regarded as Ganges water. The current of the Ganges is flowing down the middle. Anyway, he swam across a wide river early in the morning. I honestly don't know its name. I don't know I've ever heard its name. But there is now a bridge, by the way. So when we go to Narangat, we don't have to take a boat or swim across. So now there's a road and a bridge. And then came to the mat. And then Gurudev, in his humor, does say, but they walked all the way through the night. They come to the mat. And when they come to the mat, they come to meet Srila Guru Maharaj, the devotee, introduced him. And then bit by bit, and then happily there. And then coming to expecting some kind of, prasadam from the Lord, but being told, oh, no, today, no eating. What? We just walked all the way here. I'm not accustomed to not eating. And anyhow, Guru Maharaj gave, because it was Nrisimha Chaturdashi, one of these 3 days in the year when we actually fast through until at least sunset. And then Gurudev said, this is my introduction to the temple. But then Guru Maharaj had some affection and sympathy for him and gave him some allowance that he could collect from the tree. And Gurudev had already seen, but there's a nice papaya in the tree waiting. But that he could collect the papaya and maybe give. It had to be offered. That was the thing. It had to be offered. So maybe he had to give half to the deity. I'm not sure. But it had to be offered first. And then he could take it. And all the other brahmacharis are fasting and they're seeing Gurudev taking that papaya from the tree. No, Guru Maharaj said, I can do all this. And so he, from the beginning, like he's getting a little special treatment from Guru Maharaj. Okay, dear devotees, we're not going to keep chatting there. You've heard these stories so many times. And we heard them from Gurudev different times and with different little sidebars and this, that, and the other. But Gurudev came to the mat, and there is that beautiful article which is bound by affection. Srila Gurudev himself giving his autobiography of coming to Guru Maharaj. And notably, and we were talking here this evening, yesterday evening, and we have Jamuna Priya Devirasi here, and Jamuna Priya, she was there with Gurudev in so many circumstances. And one should think she pointed out from Gurudev, and Gurudev talking about Gurudev's own coming to Guru Maharaj, was that Srila Gurudev, he wasn't bound in the mat by the philosophy, the teaching, you know, this, that, and the other. He was bound in the mat by the affection of Srila Gurudev. And this was something that Jamuna Priya shared here this evening. Yes, okay, this evening. And she, of course, gave some sweet things, and especially in relation to the affection of Gurudev binding everybody else, which means all of us, we're bound by that. And the philosophy and everything, yes, it's all there, but the living devotional life, which is full, have we heard it anywhere? Have we read it anywhere? It's full of love and affection, beauty and sweetness. We read it in the books, and that was the living life with Gurudev that bound us all, and that binding gravity, gravity of the earth, like this, that binding gravity of Srila Gurudev, drawing everyone in this way, flowing today in the world. We'd have to open our eyes, turn our head, open our heart, put our head to the ground. With or without straw between our teeth. Not only a little straw, sometimes we read recently a clump of straw in the teeth. Looking, say, a clump? Yes, a clump of straw. Not just one piece of straw, but oh my goodness. But in that mood, please don't imitate the pure devotees. You can imitate them if you can show some lotus feet. Look at your toes. See if they're lotuses or not. If they're lotuses, you can put some straw between your teeth. Okay, I better not go on chatting, but the idea is there. This Gurudev transmitting all his ideas, and what is, and Srila Gurudev coming to Guru Maharaj is not the same as us coming to our divine masters. In his case, in their case, it is Leela. And it is so obviously so. So we must also understand that we've got this beautiful, like exemplary example. I mean, just a beautiful example, so perfectly, of the perfect master and then the perfect student. When the perfect student comes to a perfect master, wonderful things happen. And we've seen this. And this is also in the world of the Lord, Vishnu Tattva. Then we see Nityananda coming to Mahaprabhu. Then from that instant of their meeting, even before that, but before that instant of their meeting, it is like an eternal bond. They've always been like that. No question of Nityananda being bossed around by somebody because they joined the Hare Krishnas, 2 weeks earlier or something, or 1 month or 10 years earlier. No, Nityananda came and there he is. So when Srila Gurudev came to Guru Maharaj, then there he is with Guru Maharaj. Yes. We have witnessed and seen and still sit with them like that. Hare Krishna. Okay, Paramanandru, I've talked too long. They want to hear. You've got a lot of devotees there. Can you spotlight them? Okay, oh my goodness. the Lindbergh, dasas, das and dasis, oh no, prabhus and respectable ladies are still there in Govinda Farm. My goodness, you're having a very wonderful time, Paramananpu. After being in separation in Japan for so long from so many devotees, now Krishna's rewarding you with some very good association for so long. You must have done something good.
Right. I am the most fortunate. I'm saying I'm the most fortunate. You're absolutely right about it. So I will pass the microphone to...
That's a short speech, Paramananpu.
Well, I can add one thing.
Okay, the shortest speech in the history of Back to Basics.
Something came to my mind when you were describing the pastimes of Govinda Maharaj. Actually, it's a verse from Bhagavad Gita, and it's about the Lord, but we can absolutely use this verse for the Lord's devotees of such caliber. And the verse is Janma Karma Chamedivyam Evam Yavetti Tatpataha Jatvadeham Punarjana Naitimam Vetti Sarjuna. It's about Krishna is saying, one who understands my appearance and my pastimes. And we just discussed, we don't want to be avoiding this world. But this is translated usually as we'll never be born again in this world. But I would say we'll never be troubled by the mundanity of this world again. So that's the only thing I would like to say before Sudarshan elaborates on that point. The pastimes of Govinda Maharaj.
Well, we had a really nice program for our Singha Chaturdashi. We can remember the amazing pastime Srila Govinda Maharaj come to Chaitanya Saraswat Mutt. And something that stands out to me from that pastime, how Srila Gurudev was working really as a 16-year-old boy, providing for his family because his worshipful father had departed. And the devotees of Chaitanya Saraswat Mutt went to, I think the name of the village is Nandagram, something like that, where Gurudev was working.
Nadangat.
And Gurudev, from a young child, had this instinct, this inner guidance to always say yes. And response to the devotees when they said, "No, you have to come meet Guru Maharaj, come to the mat." His response is to say yes. And I was thinking that from such a young age, he's showing that as his like inner mood, and that's showing such a natural confidence in the flow and the will of the Lord, that what is coming in front of me, I'm going to have a positive response to. I'm going to be willing to go into that. It's a wonderful thing that even in such a situation where really, his work for that doctor is like actually providing for the family. When the devotees are coming and saying, "You need to come to the mat," he's saying yes. And then, of course, with a conditional, which we also know as a high culture, when something is auspicious, we have to do it now. So he's saying we have to go today. And then they did, because they're seeing what a amazing personality Gurudev is, even at 16 years old. And there's no bridges over the Ganga. There's no way to get across. So they're all jumping in the Ganga and swimming across back to the shelter of Guru Maharaj. And also that when Gurudev came to the mat at that time in 1947, there wasn't anything there. Not like you're going to what the mat is today. or some type of a fantasy of what some Vedic village looked like, right? It's like a small hut with, the flagpole of Guru Maharaj's poetry. The flag of Chaitanya Saraswati on a very high bamboo stick flying above a very humble circumstance. But when Gurudev met Guru Maharaj, then he's seeing everything, all the qualities of a sadhu externally and internally, feeling like, oh, this is my master. Anyways, we're just remembering these things, trying to receive a little bit of the infinite shining light of the pastimes of the devotees.
Haribol. And I do sometimes think about the mat, the thatched hut and all these things. I think, how sweet. And then there's Guru Maharaj, like his figure, which is always very tall and dignified, grave, dhira, gambira, this figure, but full of affection to the deserving.
We heard how he expressed his
Paramanandaru, can you turn off your video because the audio is very broken?
Surprise on arrival about how humble the ashram is.
Paramananda Prabhu, please, can you?
Brahmachari said yes, it's not the ashram, but there's about now.
Prabhu, can you turn off your video?
How about now?
Yes, it'll be better now.
Okay, we did turn off the video, Maharaj.
Much better, Prabhu, much better, yes.
Okay. We're having some issues with the line today. The rains finally started, and all sorts of things are happening. The trees falling on the electric lines, all of that. Anyhow, what I was saying is Gurudev was really surprised to see such a humble dwelling. Like Sudarshan Prabhu mentioned, he probably mentioned the Ramayana and Mahabharata level Vedic ashrams. Because Guru Maharaj was described in such a grand way by his representatives. And then the brahmachari who was accompanying him said that, yes, it may look humble, but there's a very big sadhu living inside. So here comes Rai Kishori Didi.
Dandavats to all the devotees.
Dandavat, Govinda.
One nice remembrance was actually that after Srila Gurudev, he meets Srila Guru Maharaj and he's fully charmed and decides to stay in the Mat. That his whole family actually then starts this huge campaign to get him back. And I had forgotten about that until yesterday, where it was apparently to the point where he was even holding onto the bars at one point. They were trying to pull him physically out of the Mat. Because they must have known also like what a loss it would be, actually. Their hearts are also kind of breaking at this thought. And I thought Guru Maharaj's solution to after some time, it was like, okay, we have to stop this. And then he actually fully invites Guru Maharaj's mother to come live in the Mat. And that was kind of like the harmonizing of this situation, is to pull her over. And so, we also got used to that she was in that like little hut in the very back area, that she was living that part of her life there. And I remember even as being very young, sometimes we would go visit her and she would be talking about Mahaprabhu constantly. and in Bengali, and very amazing lady, actually. So I had forgotten actually that Gomar had pulled the rest of the family over, and that was kind of the harmonizing, like Gurudev's staying here, basically. Right, I will take the responsibility for the family because Gurmarsh's father had passed away, I believe, when he was 17. Gurudev's father, yeah. So that was also a nice remembrance that there's, there's no exact rule for what's supposed to happen. There's just this kind of free-flowing movement and the will of the sweet-hearted devotees, and their accommodations are always surprising and beautiful, all harmonizing and very beautiful. So yeah, that was one nice thing to remember. And I can't help but think, honestly, on this particular festival, Prahlad Maharaj exhibits such a beautiful and amazing mood in the most dire of circumstances. And I find it astonishing and wonderful and worshipful. And it reminds me of the sentence from Srila Guru Maharaj from Sermons, where he says, listening to the stories of the saints, like Prahlad Maharaj, he goes, they are standing like pillars of faith, asserting, yes, this is possible. And just by remembering the stories of these personalities, it will enhance our own faith. And so I always try to remember that on these festival days, that if we can try to remember these stories, that we can offer our obeisances to such a beautiful faith, actually, right? Just hearing them is actually relieving. Same like listening to Bhagavad Gita. Maybe we don't have any of those qualities, but just hearing them, it feels merciful on our consciousness, to be able to listen to such beautiful ideals. So those are some small things on this very beautiful and auspicious festival. So dandavats to you all.
Just a short thought, Maharaj, that came to my mind again while Raikishori is. Because we were supposed to be, it's Nrisimha Chaturdashi. From the generic understanding of that, we're supposed to talk about the Supreme Personality of Godhead in that particular form. And then all the Shastras, from a generic approach, they're dedicated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when you really get into it, it's all about the devotees of the Lord. So Krishna is celebrating devotion of their devotees in all of the Shastras. And I think we're...
That's like frozen on.
That is a real... We don't know what they're hearing. Oh.
Actually, we can hear you, Prabhu. I think Maharaj frozen. Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
Oh,
yes.
Maharaj. Okay.
He's back.
That was you freezing, not us. Anyhow, it's one of those days, Maharaj. It's a cold day in Thailand and in Italy.
It's not very cold.
Anyhow, so the point was, I was actually surprised that if you look at every Shastra from every aspect, it will be exclusively dedicated to the glorification of the Lord's devotees. And Mahaprabhu is the very embodiment of that. So that's all I wanted to add.
That's a big thing to add, a very big brick. And also a little bit touching on what Rai Kishori said. A little bit touching on what Rai Kishori said, that we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, we read in various places, we hear about the great sadhus of the past, maybe the present too, but the great sadhus, which were in their hermitages 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, and who knows how many, actually hundreds of thousands of years ago, when we look in the Puranas and, as we're saying, hear about the devotees and hear about the the severe austerities and the focus and desire and all these things, the great sadhus who for hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of years, they're doing so many austerities. But with a good intention, they're not like Hiranyakashipu trying to do austerities to get, power to rule over others, but really they're trying to come to satisfy the Lord. And then when they satisfy the Lord, or when the Lord wishes and then gives them some wonderful revelation, etc. So we hear about this, and there's a sort of a tendency, I can say in my own mind at least, to put all of them in a similar, all the great sadhus in a similar box. They sit, they're very composed, they're meditating, they eat very frugally, live very simply, like this. But so in a way, they all seem sort of similar. But when you come to Gurudev and Guru Maharaj, then we see the variety of personality in pure devotees. And also Srila Gurudev in the Golden Reflections is describing about the personalities of different devotees. And this way, it's a very personal, when we come to Krishna consciousness, it's a very personal world and all kinds of natures, etc. And, this is also something that every one of these rishis and sadhus, they are persons, not a stereotyped, everyone does exactly the same thing, will have exactly the same response to exactly the same, to this, every situation. Yes, some general response of being, seeing it from the spiritual side of view. But then we've got Gurudev's living example of how human is spiritual life. And can we say how human is God? Not a big, powerful, just to plug in the electricity and then whatever we can make work from the electricity is going to happen. Not like that. But he's the personality. Acha, okay, we've got it. Personality of Godhead. So how personality of devotee, how personal are devotees. And then see Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. See means we see by hearing. And when we hear and read Chaitanya Charitamrita, what variety of persons are there? Personality, I'm talking of, Vaishnava in that sense, the personality of Vaishnavas. And actually, really, being with Gurudev and Guru Maharaj, being with them together, being with Gurudev and the fallen souls together, they're pages of a continuation of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pastimes that took place. Take place. The personality of the devotee. So variety of personality, this is one thing.
Just look.
Have you got a bird in the room?
One more devotee hiding. We just want to expose some devotion here, Maharaj.
Okay, but you're too small on my screen. I can't see who's there.
Dandavat Maharaj.
Oh, Dandavat, Krishna Priyadari. Sorry, I really couldn't see. You were so small and you camouflaged against the background, just camouflaged in the forest of the house of Bila Govinda's.
You may be small, Maharaj, but there's a big heart inside.
I like to be behind, Maharaj. It's easy to moving around and doing things.
Myself too. I'll be happy to be invisible, but somehow I'm not very good at it.
You cannot be, Maharaj. You cannot be invisible.
Well, we hope to be visible to the upper world. We hope that they really don't neglect us. And we know that they see us, and we are only sad we can't fully do what they would hope of us. That feeling certainly comes. Hare Krishna. Govinda, Govinda. Oh, well, any contribution from anyone? We are thinking things while we're sitting here. but of course you can't hear my thoughts, and we are thinking about sweet things. And I have to say, by the way, very sweet things. Jamuna Priya here, it is rare to have her association, and that means that, you know, she's now a working lady and she's got her own property. She's got lots of responsibilities, and those who own property and farmland, they know it takes a lot of work to look after a property. So she is here in Europe for a short time, and I only will find out after 1 hour's time or an hour and a half if she's actually going to stay. Her ticket, she's meant to leave here 6 a.m., continuing and going back, but she's finding it hard to leave, and she's trying to see if she can afford to throw away her ticket and get a ticket for a week later. So, but it's very sweet to have her here. And Chinmoy Devavu is here, and they are, and we've got, well, Munindra and Krishna Kanta, they're actually in Portugal. They're with Narayani. Narayani is always inviting them, come, come, come. And they thought this was going to be a little window because it wasn't on the calendar. It wasn't planned, at least known planned, except by Krishna, that Jamuna's Priya will be here. And so they were pre-arranged there on that side. But we've got Chinmoy Dev and Jamuna Priya, both who were on the veranda at this, especially this critical time, the later time when Gurudev really was showing poor health and the necessity of seva and personal seva and assistance with like so many things was there. And she looked after his medication and was also a good assistant to a doctor in the sense of somebody really does have to look after a patient. And even a doctor goes to another doctor to get their, advice, if you like. And so doctors were coming to see Gurudev, and then Jamuna Priya was very intrinsic for making sure he took the right medicine and at the right time, and this. And of course, Gurudev may not always be the best patient in the sense he may not want to take some medicines, but when Jamuna, affectionately explains the reason why, etc., and in her particular way, Gurudev heart mainly softens and then takes the medicine. I mean, many things like this. And sometimes, of course, Gurudev, doesn't matter how much good philosophy we give, Gurudev is going to eat the wrong things and etc., etc., etc. And even that is sweet. And Gurudev also realistic when, really he was having so much trouble with his health and the doctors are telling him all these things he mustn't eat. And then you've probably all heard, as soon as the doctor's gone downstairs, then it wasn't every time, but one particular time, and we were there and saw everything. As soon as the doctor went downstairs, then it's going to be the time for cooking for his lunch. And then the cooker, the devotee, asking Gurudev, so Gurudev, what will you have? And he kind of listed everything that the doctor said he shouldn't eat. And then we all, I think I was a little older and wiser by now, not to say too much. And in the sense of, if Gurudev wants something, it wasn't me who was giving the medicine. It wasn't me that was saying to Gurudev, no, you shouldn't be eating this. And I'm very thankful for the savor of Jamuna and Priya and others who, they did have that duty to say something. And Gurudev strongly, but with his particular subdued smile. Sometimes we see this expression in the descriptions of Mahaprabhu saying something or like this, or even, anyway, a subdued smile. And then he's saying, if I'm going to be alive, I'm going to eat. Sweet things. And it's true. I mean, at the end, when our body is going to finish, how much are we going to try to give ourselves so much austerity to extend it a little longer? What is the will of the Lord? That is there. As we saw, by the way, what is the will of the Lord? That will be there. Hare Krishna. And Nrisimha Gurudev came on Nrisimha Chaturdashi, and as also one devotee pointed out yesterday in our happy gathering, said it wasn't a coincidence. What's that word, coincidence? Yes, we banished it from the dictionary long ago, didn't we? Hare Krishna. Okay. So today, Rupanuga Prabhu, we didn't give you much of a chance to say anything, but we're always happy to see your smile. We can see your smile. Very happy. And because of the mystery of the phone, which I still don't know where, oh, it ran out. That's what happened, why we got cut off. It must have run out of electricity. Ah, okay. Anyway, I wasn't able to see the Facebook at the same time today. And now I still have the mystery of where is the good phone. All right. So I'll try to solve that mystery, and I'll leave you all in peace on Facebook, on Zoom, and in the recorded version. And Sudarshan Prabhu was just about to give us a final injection of Harikatha.
And before he does, Maharaj, please send our love to Jamuna Priya.
Yes.
Really, she's dearly remembered.
Okay.
Like everybody.
Yeah, from all of us.
Pen and paper. I'm writing down your words so I don't just... Okay.
Wow. Okay, well, I can just say something very briefly, Maharaj, on a remembrance for Nrisimha Chaturdashi, which was yesterday. There's 6 limbs of Sharanagati. Sanatana Goswami, Srila Guru Maharaj have said that all 6 limbs are contained within one of the limbs, which is Godpriti Varunam, embracing his guardianship. And the path of Prahlad Maharaj, the play of Prahlad Maharaj. I really like what Parmananda Guru said. It's actually, the stories are about the devotee and the Lord's play with the devotees. But he's showing in that pastime that his guardian, meaning his father, is actually torturing and abusing him. But he's taking shelter of the higher guardian, which is Lord Nrisimha Dev. But the form that he's coming in is unknown at that time. But just taking shelter in all of these circumstances. And the result of that in the very beginning is called Shantarasa, which means peace. There's some understanding that's not theoretical, that actually the cause of all reality is our friend and our guardian. And from that basis, Sharanagati is possible. Guru Maharaj is saying, if you cannot believe that the Lord is your guardian, then you will never surrender to him. So this example of Prahlad Maharaj in the most dire circumstances, taking shelter of the guardian again and again and again, from a very powerful and very intimate person who is abusing him for his faith. So very nice remembrance of the basis of Sharanagati, that our guardian is at the basis of reality, and that by embracing that, we're in the platform of peace, of being peaceful, in looking forward into our life. So, Jai Prahlad Maharaj ki jai.
And Jai Srila Gurudev ki jai. Because the next line from Sudarshan Prabhu is, and we saw that Sharanagati of Gurudev to Guru Maharaj, knowing he's his guardian. And who did Gurudev pray to when he was in, pray to means surrender to, when he was in severe difficulty? It was Guru Maharaj. And we've seen him in severe difficulty with so many things after Gurudev's disappearance, and so many things which, unfortunate, unhappy things. And finally, one morning, went up to Guru Maharaj early in the morning before Mangalarti, the time when we would go to him, when I would go to him. He'd want me there at that time. We were used to discuss the day and the correspondence and things like that. One morning I went up and there he's very peaceful, unusually peaceful. And Gurudev said, oh, yesterday evening, all these things that happened, I think I can manage this, but now with one extra thing, this extra thing that happened yesterday, very big threat and difficulty. Gurudev said, yesterday evening, I just told to Guru Maharaj, I can't deal with all these things. Only I can just say, what is your will? It will be. That is everything in your hand. So when he was in so much difficulty, it was to Guru Maharaj's lotus feet. And again, a living example of what is a perfect disciple to a perfect master. We've got Prahlad Maharaj, and he's taking shelter of the Lord. And we've got Gurudev taking shelter of Guru Maharaj. And of course, the Lord. We don't dismiss the Lord in any of this. But just so sweet seeing that relationship all the way through. The reality of devotional life. Hare Krishna. All right. And from this statement, then we can have one more hour together. However, I can't. At least from myself.
Why only 1 hour, Maharaj?
It's true. I mean, yesterday, we have to say, it was quite a full flow and ever fresh. Some of the things we overlap on some subjects, but generally it's a sweet, sweet flow that's coming always, and new things coming up. And we do repeat things. One of them is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, as Guru Maharaj pointed out, a subject for another talk. Jai Gurudev ki Jai. Jai Shri Guru. So Jai Shri Gurudev, Shri Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj, Shri Bhakti Rokha Kshira Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Bhaga ki Jai. Vishwaranya Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. All the assembled Vaishnavas on Zoom, Facebook, and recorded ki Jai. All the assembled Vaishnavas. Are we now in Govinda Farm? In Govinda Farm ki Jai. And all the devotees here, there, and everywhere. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. All the present day Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki Jai. And Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Nrisimha Dev ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. In appreciation of each and every one of you, Dandavat. Ami Ashchi.
Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Govinda Govinda. Super to see everyone. Super to know so many are with us too. Jai Nitai.
Jai Nitai.